So we are back. This is episode 7, and I'm extremely elated because I have my first guest, and who also happens to be my firstborn child, firstborn daughter, Zoe Sophia Ford. And she, by the look on her face, you can tell she's excited to be here. I sort of threw this on her at the end of dinner tonight, and I didn't plan it. So we just want to hang and we're going to talk and see where this goes. So how are you, Zoe?
I'm good.
You good? What's new?
Well, just doing the best I can every day.
Doing the best you can every day, huh? Okay. So what does that entail?
Um,
It's warm, right?
mhm.
Yeah, no, I got this thick sweater on. By the way, this sweater has been getting all kinds of love today. So want to thank Zara. They're not sponsoring this, but I love their clothes. So if you want to sponsor Zara, get at me. Just had to get that out real quick. My daughter loves it, so that means it's fly. So it's new.
Didn't give me time to prepare for this.
I didn't give you time to prepare. Okay, well, here we are. You had a dance competition this weekend. You had some dance stuff. What was that like?
It was hard
Yeah.
because I've never been to this competition or convention before, and I was dancing on concrete essentially all weekend
Hmm.
from 7:50 to 3, and then competing until 10. So that's not easy
Right.
for anyone.
No. Doesn't sound easy. Every time I see dancers and what I see you have to go through, it always makes me appreciate the art form even more. So I can't imagine. I mean, I like to think that I could get out there and do what you do, but I mean, you see me around here, and when I attempt to do what you do, it's not anything close to what you do, right?
Mm-mm.
But I can get better, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's good. We certainly missed you over here. Um, Happy to have you back. And we miss you. We were proud of you, and just excited to have you here. Excited to see what's going to happen for you in these next few months of your junior year. Excited to see what's going to happen next year, senior year, mostly, and super excited to see what's going to happen after that. Where we headed,
Wherever the wind takes me.
wherever the wind takes you. So you don't have anything to do with it.
I do.
Yeah.
I just don't really have much of an idea of exactly where. I'm kind of all over the place right now.
Well, I was a senior in high school once, and I remember being the same way. So you're certainly not alone. But what are you what are you thinking? Um, what do you want to do? Let's talk about that.
Um, I want to end up in New York at some point.
Yeah.
Hopefully on Broadway dancing and being a swing/slash understudy for shows.
Right. So you explain to me what that means. Why don't you tell them what that means?
So basically, to be a swing on Broadway is sort of like an understudy, but you're able to cover more tracks than just like one specific lead role. So a swing usually is in the ensemble, but if another ensemble member or a lead role goes out for any reason, you have to be prepared to like swing on.
Hmm.
So it just it looks really good to be a swing on Broadway just because it means that you can do everything and basically do anything that people need you to do just like at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
And that means you just have to have a strong tool belt to be able to like put yourself out there and like be ready for anything.
Hmm.
So I want to do that. And then also I hope that with that platform and like being on Broadway or off Broadway or doing national tours will give me enough uh background to like teach
Hmm.
and do like workshops and mentor programs and internships and stuff.
Well, you come from a family of educators. everybody on my mom's side is an educator, either by trade or I'm trying to fix my microphone, and I hope that this will jack up the audio. I think I'm gonna just like talk like this. This is far more comfortable. This is my mini microphone, but you come from a family of educators. You come from a family of musicians. So, I mean, you got the best of both worlds. I mean, so singing that plays a part into it too.
Mhm.
Yeah. Where's the singing going?
Well, I've always had, like, an interesting relationship with singing just because it was something that I felt like I could do well, but I've taken time to, like, take it seriously, like, on and off, like, not the same way that I've always taken dance seriously, but it's something that I've started to, like, focus on more and have people tell me that I'm good at it more, so that gives me more confidence.
People like me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you,
I know a little couple of things.
I guess.
I know a couple of things about music. That's
Yes.
probably it though, right?
No,
No?
no.
We were talking earlier and I asked you, where were the three, what did I say? Three coolest things or three?
I think it was well, I said Miss Emily said she made you the dinner, correct? We wanna show you how we appreciate you,
Right.
and you asked me the 3 things that you appreciate the most.
And you said,
I said, your sweater and your words
Mhm,
and your cool daughter.
that's right. My cool daughter makes me cooler. Yeah, I certainly feel that way. I certainly feel like when you came into my life, you just opened my eyes and you gave me a new motivation, a new reason, a new like, if I'm gonna do this thing, I need to do this thing. So sitting here with you right now, full circle, talking to you about your aspirations is like I couldn't imagine it 17 years ago. And we'll look back at this video. You'll look back at this video when I'm long gone and remember this moment. And I'll look at this video sometime before your wedding. I'll look at this video probably before I watch your debut on Broadway. And I'm just really, really big on capturing moments because, obviously cameras were around 20 years ago, but 30 years ago. But I was telling Miss Emily the other day that like I can still hear my father's voice, but like it's getting fainter and fainter. So one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast is so when I'm long gone, that you and your brother will have this to remember me. You'll be able to see me, you'll be able to see my mannerisms, you'll be able to hear my voice. So that's part of the reason why I'm doing this. Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
Is that too heavy? It's too heavy too soon.
Yes.
It was hard getting it out, but I was like, you need to know. Um, that's what I mean. I'm big on documentation because whatever we document becomes our narrative. So that's why I'm always talking to you about making sure that you're posting and promoting yourself on social media because this is a beautiful day and age that we live in where we get to control our own narrative, right? And career wise, you get to essentially set the stakes for what it is you want to do and where you want to go. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
What percentage do you think social media plays for a budding artist in being able to control their own destiny?
I think we live in an age where social media, like, that's more important than, like, who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Like,
For
especially
better or worse, right?
no. In my experience, it's definitely been for worse,
Mm.
like, especially in dance because it doesn't matter what kind of person you are, what kind of training you have. If you don't have the followers and the content to back it up, then it doesn't really matter anything. And that can be a good thing and a bad thing, cause I've I like curating content and, like, figuring out stuff like that, like algorithms and aesthetics and stuff. But that's not something that comes so naturally to other people,
Right.
but it's like they don't even have a fighting chance in what they wanna accomplish if it
No.
doesn't come to them.
Right. So, for as much training as you get in your discipline, you need equal amount of training in what you're talking about, social media leveraging.
Mhm.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
And that's funny because like 25 years ago, when I was still in New Orleans, MySpace was the thing. And I was a young jazz musician in New Orleans, and I was literally using MySpace to promote my shows at Snug Harbor, to promote my shows at the Funky Bunny. And I caught a lot of flack. People were like, "Man, just concentrate on the music. Like it's only about the music." And it's like for whatever reason, I understood that this new medium that we had, social media, could be used to curate your own thing. You know what I mean? You could literally create your own narrative.
Mm.
And like you said, well, I said it, I don't know if you agree with it or not. It's for better or worse, because the flip side of it is you could curate something so much that it looks like you are something or somebody and dealing with it, but you can't back it up.
This is true.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So, my mentor always talks to me about character before content. So if I say that to you, what would that mean to you?
Um, Making sure that, like, who you are as a person is, like, secure before, like, the things that you put out
Mm,
can be.
yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. I
Uh,
agree.
yeah.
You want to elaborate?
Yeah. Not even just in, like, a social media sense, just overall.
Mhm. So do you think that a person should wait to promote themselves until they get their personal lives, their mental health, their emotional health together before they start promoting? Or should it be simultaneous?
I think it can be simultaneous
Yeah.
just because I don't know if anyone's gonna get to a point where they feel like they've just got it and that everything that they post on social media is the most perfect 100% example of who they are. And I honestly don't think that the version that you post of yourself on social media should be the most perfect 100% person that you are, because then you're giving that away to, I don't know, like when I look at my Instagram stats, there's people in like Ghana, like 0.2%. I don't know anyone in Ghana. I don't know if I want them sharing my energy, but that's who's seeing it
Mhm.
when I post and put myself out there. And I feel like that's not something that you want to do.
Hmm. So, but what if that person in Ghana has never seen anything remotely close to the life you live? And what if they see it and then you give them a glimpse, you give them hope or something? Or maybe they have seen, maybe they have a great life, but they have no idea what it's like for a black girl in Carrollton, Texas.
I never thought about it that way
Yeah.
because social media is pretty much a pretty bad place
Mm.
most of the time. And I don't know if it's more for like younger generations, but most of the time when you're exposing yourself on the internet, you're exposing yourself to things that you can be protected from if you're not exposing yourself in any capacity.
Right.
So that's why I think it's better to just give yourself an amounts and
Mm.
just be chill about it.
I don't know if I'm slouching or not, and I think I'm going to sit up because your posture looks great, like a ballerina. And I'm gonna look at this video later. I'm gonna be like, man, why wasn't I sitting up? So I'm gonna start over right here, and I'm gonna sit up like this. And oh no, how are you? Oh, because you're sitting up cross leg. I said the old way to some kids the other day, and I had immediately like,
Oh, like,
yeah, and I forgot that like we don't say that anymore. Yeah. So, no, no, I hear you. And that's a great perspective because I'm 46 years old and I don't think of it like that because half of my life was not spent being on social media. But your entire life growing up from the time you were born, social media has been a thing. And so what it sounds like you're saying is that because the world could potentially have access to your essence or your energy, is what you said, that you have to protect that for you, right? Just the feeling of like, I'm keeping something safe and sacred for me. I'm keeping something safe and sacred for the people who are actually around me. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
I never thought of it like that.
yeah. Just because I've dealt with more of, like, the negative impacts of it, like, people, like, cyberbullying, the way that, like, celebrity culture and everything, like, hurts people.
Mm.
Like, people just aren't afraid to, like, say the worst, most horrible
Yeah.
things behind a screen, and that's always something that is in the back of my mind, and it's constantly being pushed in the back of my mind, like, at school. We get, like, to go to the auditorium, and we'll sit here and talk about, like, "Don't post this on social media because da 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 da." Like, it's always such, like, a huge deal,
Mhm.
I guess. So I don't really get to see it from a perspective of, like, putting myself out there and, like, marketing purposes just
Right.
because people take advantage of it in different ways.
That's such a different perspective. I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm like, man, like the internet feels like the world used to feel pre-internet, where it was like, man, I had no idea what was going on in Istanbul, Turkey in 1992. You know what I mean? And it's like now I'm looking at it like, man, no, no, it's a great thing. I want to I want to know everything. I want to put everything out there, but you're saying, it's like I just want my pocket and not be susceptible to cyberbullying or people taking what I post and using it in a negative way. That's two different perspectives. I never even thought about it like that. So I guess the moral of it is you have to determine how much of yourself you want to give away. I think that's wisdom. I think that's wisdom that your generation needs to hear more of because it would appear that the money, the fame, the success is right at your fingertips if you leverage social media. So then the mentality is, well, I need to put myself out there more, but at what expense?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I feel like there needs to be more voices like yours who are saying, yes, but protect yourself, protect your essence, protect your innocence, protect everything that you are. You agree with that?
I do, and it's the same thing you were saying, like, content character before content.
There you go.
Like, there's, like, people my age that are, like, actual influencers and are being watched so heavily by other people our age, and, like, at the same time that, like, us as, like, teens and kids are developing, the internet's developing in strange ways too. So those things kind of go, like, hand in hand with each other in the same way that people are exploited and taken advantage of in other situations. People have learned how to do that through social media, so it's just a scary time
Wow.
right now.
That is not the world I live in. That is so crazy. I'm glad we're having this conversation. Cause I mean, I teach kids, I teach young kids, I teach all ages, but it's so funny when you get older, you start to lose touch of like what's actually happening out there. And you can think because you have age and wisdom that what you see and what you experience is really all there is. No, but it's like, that's why it's so important to have dialogue and conversations that cross generations because, like your brother, I'm not gonna put him on blast, but he talks about boomers a lot, you know what I mean? And I get it, but we really can learn so much by having multi-generational conversations. And there's something that I have, my generation, that you can use, but there's certainly something that your generation has. What are you, Gen Alpha?
Z.
Z. Wow. So there's a generation under you.
Mm.
So there's something your generation and your brother's generation can share with older generations that we need. We need that cross pollination across for everything in every conversation. Every conversation. This world is moving fast. Internet is making it faster and faster, and we need that connection. We need to keep that connection. So I hope that you continue, like we've always talked about, being a voice of your generation and using your platform to go against the grain and to help your generation to see things a little bit clearer. That's what I want to do for my generation. And I hope that you do the same thing for your generation. I was thinking the other day, shifting gears, I want to hear your thoughts on this. I was thinking the other day about cancel culture. And I don't know if I heard this somewhere else, so I'm gonna say this for the first time right now, and I hope I'm the one creating this so I can go on record and say I created this. But I was thinking, first of all, I think cancel culture sucks. I'm just gonna go on record and say that. I despise it for many reasons that I won't go into right now, or maybe I will. But I think more than anything else, more than cancel culture, what we need is counsel culture. And what do I mean by that? I'll start by what I don't mean. I don't necessarily mean that you need to go hire a counselor and sit and go through that. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I think we need the spirit of counsel more than we need the spirit of cancel. So I'm asking you your opinion after I say this. Cancel culture is we hate what you did, we don't like what you did, and we just want to cast you away. Like we don't want you anymore. We don't want you. And some people do some horrible things. So let's not pretend like people aren't out here doing horrible things. But as a culture, I think we would do better if we, after we deal with the problem, we say, well, what can we learn from this? What can this person learn from this? So forth and so on. That's the preliminary idea. What do you think?
I think that cancel culture comes from, like, a subgenre of just overall celebrity hatred, which isn't ultimately a bad thing just because of how unethical it is to be a celebrity to certain capacity. Um, so when people get, like, canceled for doing either, like, big things or small things, from my perspective, it's like, I'm not gonna sit here and, like, say, "Oh my gosh, you're canceled, you're horrible," because I don't know you,
Right.
and you're still making money and living better than a lot of other people at the end of the day.
Right.
And I feel like cancel culture just comes from the fact that people are upset right now,
Mm.
and there's so many more important things going on in the world that have nothing to do with, "Oh, what this person tweeted on this day," because people suck.
Right.
A lot of people suck.
Yeah.
And it's unrealistic to think that just because they can do things better than some other people or are better at making everybody else think that they can do things, that they should be held at a pedestal.
Yeah. Higher standard. Yeah.
And I don't know. It really just depends because people are always gonna have their own opinions. And it's crazy to think that due to social media and like how quickly information gets around that everybody's opinions are always being heard
Yeah.
at all times. Like that's not how things work.
Have a word.
We
Yeah. Right.
so
Because it's like if everybody's opinion is on the table, then how do we divide? How do we distinguish between what is true, what is right, if everybody's opinion is valid? It's like, I value your opinion in many areas, many yours. But if I say, hey, Zoe, should I really, play that F sharp on that C major chord? Like you might have an opinion on it, but how valid is it? Because that's a great, interesting perspective because you may not know the technical terminology, but if it feels good to you and it sounds good to you, then your opinion is valid. So I retract that analogy. A better analogy is if you've not lived my life, if you've not experienced what I've experienced, then your opinion is yours, but all of our opinions don't need to be elevated at the same time is I think what I'm trying to say.
yeah.
But we live in a world, like you said, where social media and the internet allows everybody to feel like their opinion is paramount. And so I guess going back to what you were originally saying, the only way that we can combat that, because we can't slow the internet down, it's a monsoon. So the movement should be protect yourself from the craziness of the internet.
Yeah. There was So I had like my AP Lang group projects this week, and it was based off of like art topics. And a group of my friends did a like presentation research project on parasocial relationships on the internet. And I think that has a really big part in like the idea of cancel culture too, because if somebody that you don't know living on the other side of the world felt a certain way about something, it wouldn't mean anything to you.
Right.
But since you think that you have some sort of connection with this celebrity or influencer, people take it more personally. And that's when it becomes like such an outrage.
Right.
And I think that's where it just becomes unhealthy. And
Yeah.
I know there's stuff in the Bible about like idols and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like it starts to like test all of that.
That's a great perspective. There is. We're not, uh, as Christians, we are not supposed to worship any idol. We're not supposed to put anything above the name of the Lord. And we do. Throughout the Bible, people would create any and everything that they could to worship because they were afraid to worship a God they couldn't see. They were afraid that they were so terrible of people that, oh, this God is going to punish me ruthlessly for various reasons. And they would build golden calves and all kinds of weird stuff. But in modern times, we may not be building golden calves, but we certainly are still looking for things and other people to worship. And when I was growing up, man, I used to worship my idols. I used to Miles Davis and, everybody. I would worship them. The older I've gotten, I've had to come to terms with the fact that these were just people. These were just people that did something well consistently. It doesn't make them greater people. It's just they've done something really well. And that's okay. We should celebrate the work, but we shouldn't celebrity worship. We shouldn't, you know, right. So this whole concept of cancel culture versus counsel culture, counseling, I've been in counseling since I was in 6th grade and off and on. But counseling is probably the greatest thing that I've ever experienced to make me the person that I am today. And I 100% advocate for people to seek out good counsel in their lives. Without it, you're just on an island. You're just on an island and um yeah, good counsel. I hope that my wife is in the bedroom talking to somebody on the phone, so I hope it's not picking up here on this video because that would be terrible. But we are recording in our beautiful home, so that's just part of what it is, right? Yeah. So I'm happy you. First of all, you're on spring break right now, so you get a break. You need a break. What is it like being 17 and having all of these opportunities that you have that your talent has afforded you? What is it like? Because you're not a normal kid. You know that, right? Right. And I don't mean that you're strange. I just mean that you are extremely talented and you have a lot of great opportunities and you've been juggling them and you've been doing relatively well, juggling all your responsibilities. Speak to what is working for you in terms of managing being a 17-year-old kid, but also talented and having all these opportunities.
It definitely helps because I go to Booker T. Um, there's so many like-minded people where I don't have to feel so ostracized in
I
juggling.
love that word.
because we're all juggling and at the same time in different capacities. And this year specifically, I've started to become friends with like more theater kids and more musicians and more artists. So we're doing different things for different reasons. But we all have AP Lang to do. We all have Algebra 2 to do at the same time. And it's just cool because it could be so much worse, just like feeling like you're so alone in this. But we all have a similar passion to share our God given gifts.
Yeah. I think that's the beautiful thing about going to a performing arts high school is exactly what you said, and that's the beautiful thing about going to a university setting institution, higher learning that has that too. Like I believe that, and we've talked about this, but the relationships that you build in these types of institutions is the cost of admission. Like the question is always, well, you're an artist. Do I have to get a degree? Do I have to get a degree in this discipline? I mean, I think that debate is going to be had forever because we know success stories of people who finished with their degrees in the arts and who have done wonderful things. We know people who ain't set foot on a college campus and have done amazing things. Right. So I think it depends on the individual, it depends on the institution, but 100% the relationships that you create and cultivate and build over a lifetime is what you get by being in these institutions. So that's a great perspective. That there's a safe, not a safety, but there's a I guess safety in numbers. There's a security that you get by looking around and seeing like-minded people that allows you to feel free to do what you're called to do at any given time, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to being a lone wolf. And I remember the day you got accepted to Booker T. Do you remember that? You
Mhm.
remember my response?
No.
You don't remember my response? Wow. I'll put it like this. It's going to be the same response you get from me when I see you in the white dress and the veil. So I think you can understand what that would look like, right? Yeah. I was extremely proud when you found out that you got accepted and were going to be able to go. Um, I think I take a lot of credit for the fact that you are as awesome as you are, and I'm not ashamed about it. I poured a lot into you and still continue to do so because I care about you, and it is my job to pull you back like an arrow and shoot you further than I can see. But I'm saying all that to say that I can say, first of all, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that you are have gone beyond my wildest dreams currently, and your future is extremely bright, and I couldn't be prouder of you. I couldn't. None of us are perfect, right? But yeah, I couldn't be more proud of you, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the next 2 years unfold for you. And it's gonna be awesome.
1 year now.
1.5 years now. Don't speed it up for me. 1.5 years from now. So we started this conversation talking about what you want to do, and we can wrap it up soon. But first of all, I'm happy that you articulated your future and your hopes and dreams as well as you did, because being able to speak to being able to speak something is so powerful. You know that?
Mhm.
Why do you think that is?
Um, because I feel like it's easy to think about all these possibilities and have an imagination of what it would be nice to do or what it would be cool to do. Like, but actually, like being able to say it kind of like puts action towards it, at least like the first step of action towards it.
Right.
So it makes it less of like a, oh, maybe I could try and
I am
like
the
a,
guy.
yeah, just like actually like, no, like this is what I'm doing. Like this is what I'm passionate about. Like this is it for me.
Yeah. That's absolutely true and absolutely well said. Um, I have learned that there are two steps to creation. The first step is to think it and speak it. So you get a concept in your mind and then you speak it and then you create that thing. And so there's so much power in speaking something. The Bible says that the power of life and death is in the tongue. And what that means is that we have the power to create life. We're not witches and warlocks and Harry Potter. We don't have magic wands and we boop create it, you know. And I'm not into this whole pseudo manifesting culture that's out there right now. There's some truth to that, but the reality is that the word of God says the power of life and death is in the tongue. So when you speak something, what you're doing is setting in motion um, the creation process. So if you speak life into something, whatever that is, then um, you're creating it. And the opposite of that is true as well. When we speak death into something, we are we're participating in the process of that thing dying. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think this manifestation culture takes a part of that and creates the illusion that if I just say it enough, that I'm going to make the thing happen. And that's not how it works. I could say I want to dunk like Michael Jordan all day, every day, all day, every day. I'm a dunk like Jordan. I'm a dunk like Jordan. How close do you think I'm going to get to dunking like Jordan by me saying it over and over?
Not that close.
Not that close. So what's the missing link?
Practicing dunking like Jordan.
Practicing dunking like Jordan, yes, but the missing link is process.
Right.
And when you speak something, you give it legs. And it's almost like if I tell you, "Hey Zoe, you know, I'm gonna do 200 sit-ups every night for the next 3 months." Every single time you see me, you're gonna be like, "Hey yo, you did them sit-ups?" Right? So there's accountability when you speak something. And that's why I'm always encouraging you to you don't have to have a fully formed idea, but it is important to start speaking what you want to see in the world. And when we were having dinner tonight, I'll take it to this level and we'll wrap up. When we were having dinner tonight, and Miss Emily said, "What did she say again? Why did she cook me dinner?"
Because she wanted to show her appreciation.
Right. She said that, right? She said that to me. So I might have just thought, "Oh, she's just cooking dinner because she wanted this pasta," or she's cooking dinner because she doesn't like my food. Like, I could imagine anything, but she said something, and what she said went straight here, right? And so what will that do? It will create life. Now I'm looking at my wife like, "Wow, this woman cares about me." Not that I didn't know before, but the power of life and death is in the tongue. So imagine if somebody says the opposite. All of us are a product as we sit, wherever we sit, or all of us are a product of what was spoken over us. So you are where you are because people have said, "Oh my God, Zoe, you are so talented. Oh my God." And if you hear something over and over, you start to act like, "Well, I guess I am. I guess I can do that pirouette." Right? And you were 5, and your pirouette was probably maybe not the most killing pirouette, but if you believed it was great, then you act like it was great. So the opposite of that is true too. When we speak negativity and curses over people, then we act like that. So, uh, we can go on and on and on, but I just want to end this podcast by, uh I've already said it to you before, but I'm going to say it again that your future is extremely bright. And I am so confident in your ability, not just your talent, because you're an amazing talent, but what is going to separate you now and forever is your heart. And your ability to lead your generation against the grain. And I'm saying that because I want you to know that. And if I say it enough, you're going to keep hearing it. And when you're down in the dumps, when you're low, when you're feeling like, I don't know, something's going to click in your head and you're going to remember my daddy said. And so it's a picture of how God wants his children to be. When I'm at my lowest, when I am trying to figure out which way is up, I can remember what my father said, right?
Mhm.
So the earthly father is a picture of the heavenly father. So the way a father should speak to their children should, don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that.
This way.
Don't look at me. The way a father, earthly father, should speak to their children should always come from a place of love. And you may not have any idea right now, but there's going to come a time in your life where that's going to mean so much to you, more than it does right now. And I know it means a lot to you right now. And if we can see that from an earthly father, that is what God wants us to see as a heavenly father. So thank you very much for joining me on this podcast. I know I threw this curveball at you, and I sincerely hope that this is actually still recording because I have no idea, and I'm not going to get up right now to see, but I hope that this did not malfunction and that we were able to capture this. It was really good for me. We didn't have a script. We were just kind of winging it. Hopefully you will come back and join us on the podcast for another episode. And I think what I want to do next is find a topic that we want to really, really riff on and really, go into that because I'll be honest, I learned a lot about you tonight. I learned the way you think a little bit better. I learned just the way you're able to articulate your thoughts. It's just like, man, like, I mean, I knew you were intelligent. I mean, you're my daughter, but oh, this was good. I needed to see this. So I'm very proud of you. I love you. And do you have anything else? What do you have going on right now? What's next for you?
Um, Come see 9 to 5
That's right. 9 to 5.
project.
9 to 5, Booker T. Washington School of the Visual.
Performing and visual performing. Most unique high school in Dallas, Texas.
Give the full titles.
Booker T. Washington High School for the Performing and Visual Arts. I learned the other day that the T, he had like a weird middle name. It's like a funny middle name. Some theater kid told me. He was like, we need to start using that instead. But
That's funny. So your grandfather, your great grandfather, went to Booker T. Washington in New Orleans, right?
yeah, you can read that on Wikipedia. I found that out the
Yeah.
other day.
Yeah, Clarence Ford Sr., great saxophone woodwind player. Yeah, so you have 9 to 5, which opens April 10th, running that weekend. So tickets going to be open to the public. Okay, so you can get your tickets if you want. If you're in the Dallas Fort Worth area and you want to come see Zoe Sophia Ford in 9 to 5 at the Booker T. Washington Performing School of the Visual and Performing Arts. If you're in Dallas Fort Worth, you already know what the name of the school is. So thank you, Zoe Sophia Ford, for joining us on Break the Chain with Thaddeus Ford. I felt like some chains were broken today for me. I don't know if you can speak to that as well, but certainly for me, and that's what we want to do in this podcast is break chains, break yokes, break burdens over your life so you can live this life fully. So until the next video, peace. Yeah.